Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Bring Back the Brass. And I'm very, very pleased to welcome a very special guest this morning, someone who I'm very familiar with, but lots of you in the brass band movement may not know quite so well. Hello, Mark. This is Mark Armstrong. Hello, Mark.
Hello, good morning, Paul. How lovely to be here. Really great to see you.
It's very lovely to see you two in your sunny room in South London,
Mm-hmm.
looking good. Now, I've got lots to speak to you about, really. But so my brass band people know, Mark is the musical director of the National Youth Jazz Orchestra of Great Britain, as we call it in brass band terms. But you guys are NIJO. You're also Professor of Jazz at the Royal College of Music. And all-round good guy and phenomenal trumpet player. I think that's fair to say. You're happy to agree with that, though?
Well, I'm flattered that your kind words, Paul. Thank you very much. But yes, you're right. I do jazz at the Royal College, and I'm artistic director of NIJO. That's true for sure.
But a long time before that, going back, not too far, obviously, but I happen to know you have a relationship with a certain brass band in Buckinghamshire.
I do. Yes, I was very, very excited to be a member of the Amersham Brass Band for many years. Actually, it was a really, really great experience. We used to rehearse next to the pub in the little
Eagle
hall, the Eagle. When I got old enough, I'd go down to the Eagle and have a pint. It was lots and lots of fun. I really, really enjoyed it. It was great. With Ralph Mulrine was the conductor.
That's right.
We went to Watford Town Hall and we did the competition.
That's right.
It was lots of fun. Yeah, and I played my first flugelhorn, which I got lent by the brass band. It was really great. I was really grateful for that.
Which we can now see in picture there, obviously.
Well, this is not the same flugelhorn.
No.
But it's actually rather older. This is a gold Quainon flugelhorn, but never mind.
Nice.
It was a great experience. And the thing that about playing in a brass band that was so good for me was this whole time, because I was playing the cornet, obviously. It was a bit like playing the violin in an orchestra. It was just on your chops. And it's so great for your stamina to play like that. Because if you play an orchestral trumpet, you're sitting around and counting a million bars rest and then going da-da from time to time, in some repertoire, not in all, and so getting to play the tune. I mean, things like Ruslan and Ludmilla Overture. I mean,
come on.
Yeah, all that stuff. And I remember when I was a student later on in Oxford, I decked in a couple of other brass bands, and we played an amazing arrangement of some Wagner, some wedding music from Lohengrin, and it was really, really great to play because I'd never played it in the orchestra, and also I was playing the tune, which you don't get to do all the way through. Obviously, it's great playing Meistersinger's Overture on the trumpet. There's some tasty bits to play in that, but it's a different experience, and I love that sense of this great music being transformed and made more available for people to appreciate through the medium of the brass band. It's such an important part of our cultural heritage, I think, and I really enjoy being part of that.
Yeah, well, I couldn't agree more. We all know, us brass banders, this whole thing about playing. We've had a year off, haven't we, from playing? And I know that I've been doing boot camps and rehearsals online, but as soon as we get to being back in the room and we're all playing together, within 10 minutes, everybody's going to be, wow, what a workout, So you're absolutely right. It's a huge workout, and it's a great way. It's a great way to get your chops together. So, you've actually been back to the band a couple of times with Amersham and done solos as well. And one of the things that's really struck me about those concerts is that, your variety. Everybody knows you in the UK for being a fantastic jazz trumpet player. I think every time I walk into Ronnie Scott's and there's a big band player, and you tend to be in the jazz chair playing all the solos, which is how it should be, of course. How many bands, I can't even tell you, but you've been there so much. But your kind of musical knowledge is far wider than that, and so you've got a massive passion for all trumpet music, and we've played loads of different stuff with the band. So I'm quite interested to know a little bit about that, really, and where did the jazz come in, and how was your training, and at what age were you when jazz became a real passion for you?
Okay, yeah. Well, I guess I started out as a classical player, really, but there's these kind of moments that change your direction as a musician, I think. And I remember that I was playing in Amersham Music Centre, the youth orchestra there, and then I remember playing in the County Youth Orchestra, which is a fantastic institution in Buckinghamshire. We did some incredible trips and did some incredible concerts at the Albert Hall, and I also did the Bucks Wind group. And I remember on one occasion we were doing, I think it was called Buckinghamshire, Youth Wind Orchestra or something, and we did a rehearsal where Don Wright, who's a fantastic saxophone player, came along, and he at the time was running the County Youth Jazz Orchestra, which I think was kind of a bit of a sporadic thing. And I remember we played Splanky by
Neil Hefti.
By Neil Hefti, that's right. And I was so excited. It was such an exciting experience playing that music. It was kind of like, oh my God, and so I loved doing that. And then I joined that band, and that kind of got me into playing big band music, really.
Yeah.
And I remember when I was a kid, much younger at school, before I even started playing any instruments, I remember my teacher, Miss Hunter, and I had a little bit of a crush on Miss Hunter, that was about like 8 or 9. She left school, and I remember they played some big band music. At least that's what I think it is, because I can't quite remember what it was. It might have been Glenn Miller or something like that. And I just remember being really excited by the colours. It was kind of a synesthetic experience,
Yeah.
So all these kind of moments of kind of musical revelation occurred. I had another one when I went as a student. I went to Oxford University and studied music, which is a great privilege. And I remember coming across a record that a friend of mine recommended me listening to, which was Kenny Wheeler's Music for Large and Small Ensembles, and listening to that and having my mind blown by that, And so, and then, so there were all these kind of things that pointed me in that direction. But I mean, my training as a musician, I started out having lessons in Bucks, which was great. And then I went to the junior college.
Okay.
Had lessons with a guy called Eddie Riches, and actually Graham Hollingdale, I should say, who was my brass teacher initially, was fantastic. Got me through grade 8 and all those things. When I went to the junior college, I had lessons with Eddie Riches, who was a classical trumpet player. I think he'd been in the BBC Symphony Orchestra for a while, and he was great too, and playing some amazing repertoire in that orchestra. But I remember there was one experience I had where I played. Which kind of maybe told me what direction I should be taking professionally, where we were doing the school's prom with another band that I played with when I was a student, which was Nick Care's Music Centre Dance Band, which was just the most incredible experience for playing in a big band.
Very sadly, Nick passed away, didn't he, just quite recently?
I know, and
he's a lovely man.
Lovely man, an incredible educator. He changed so many people's lives, Nick.
Absolutely.
And I remember we did "Feel So Good" by Chuck Mangione. In fact, on this flugelhorn.
Wow.
And previously, when I'd done solos in a place like that, classical solos, I'd felt so nervous, like kind of, oh my God, am I going to get through this? And I remember it was my mate Alex Lestrange, who I'm still collaborating with on lots of projects, playing the piano. And I just remember standing on the stage of the Albert Hall with him and thinking, right, have a bit of this. It was that excitement about performance. And it made me think, perhaps the classical thing. I love classical music. I love playing classical music, and I still want that to be part of my playing career. But maybe I ought to be thinking about going more seriously in the jazz direction. From that was one of the things that kind of got me thinking about that. So, I mean, while I was at Oxford, I had very few lessons, to be honest. I had they were all very. It was that kind of thing that happens when you get maybe a bit more mature. Incredibly. It's like strong medicine, it's something you take away and then you work on for a while.
Yeah.
And I had two experiences. One, I had some lessons with Bill Houghton, who was principal trumpet of the BBC Symphony Orchestra, who was great. But it was quite interesting. One of the first things he said to me was, "Oh yeah, you're not a classical trumpet player." And I literally played one note, and he kind of said, "Oh," and I thought, "Oh, okay, right, fair enough." But nevertheless, he took me through some things that were really, really useful, and he was really brilliant about error correction, saying, "Well, yeah, that was okay." But you can play it better than that. And that's one of the things that is really, really great to hear from people. And I remember once or twice in brass band rehearsals where I depped in a brass band where someone had said, rather pointedly, looking towards the direction of the first cornets, "Well, that was pretty good, but I think there's some people who could play that better," And I know he was thinking about me. And that's really good to hear, because quite a lot of the time, if you're kind of big fish in small pond, people say, "Oh, they don't say anything," because they just let you get on with it. But for someone to say, "Let's see how much better we can make that," I think that's quite a powerful message,
Yeah, absolutely.
So Bill was really, really good at making me think about quality. And then the other person who was an incredible influence on me was Paul Eshelby, who I had quite a few lessons with from the jazz side. And Paul was the person who actually gave me things to practice that would enable me to be able to play jazz fluently. Like he said, you've got to do this and this and this, and he kind of laid it out for me at a time when I was at Oxford, where really a lot of the study was self-directed. You know, it's basically do what you like for a week as long as you turn up to a tutorial with the essay.
Yeah.
You know, or the orchestration or whatever it might be. You know, there was, I mean, and obviously there were lectures and things, but there wasn't that sense of being at school. You know, and then when I finished at Oxford, I went and did a year at the Guildhall with Noel Langley, who was my trumpet teacher, and that was such a brilliant contrast, because while I'd made some important personal revelations as a student when I was doing a academic music degree, having massive holes in my kind of knowledge, and really with a desire to have those filled, going to a place like the Guildhall, where Scott Stroman was talking about jazz harmony, Simon Purcell was talking about improvisation, Pete Churchill was talking about improvisation and playing by ear, and Noel was telling me exactly how he was taught to play the trumpet. That was just such a fantastic antidote, or just it's a yin and yang thing, you know, between these two sides. So I suppose for me, I've always felt there's always something new to learn, and I've always felt that, you know, there's actually quite a simple process if you're prepared to put the work in to actually make things better, you know. And I think a lot of it is, you know, use a slightly trite phrase, face time.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You know, if you haven't got a face, you know, you're not going to get better. And there's lots of things you can do as well, you know, that'll help. But at the end of the day, it's actually playing the instrument, which is a fundamental thing, you know.
Totally. He's never going to sell ice creams going that fast, is he? That ambulance that just whizzed past.
That's right.
Yeah, so, well, what's interesting about what you just said, you talked about the people that you had around you at the Guildhall, what a great team of people, and you talked about improvising and trying to make yourself better. And I think as a brass band movement, that's something I'm really keen for us to try different ideas, and certainly the improvisation thing is something that I'd like to touch on a little bit later with you, and for us to maybe be brave enough to have more partnerships with that kind of side of things. Really, I'm quite interested in the routine. So, you know, I've worked with you, you're a fantastic trumpet player, but you are renowned to be a jazz player, but what routine have you got daily in your practice? So I can see we've already been introduced to your flugelhorn, but I can see you've got a natural trumpet behind you as well.
Yeah, well,
that's pretty cool.
I borrowed this from the Royal College, and then suddenly lockdown happened, and I've been kind of had it, and I've take it back. And so I pick this up occasionally, and I've been on a kind of on and off basis, been trying to teach myself to play it, and I've learned so much about how hard it is to do that, you know. So that I use occasionally, and that's a good warm up thing for me. And I use the biggest mouthpiece I can, you know, to play on that. So it's kind of sporadically, and sometimes when I look at a B flat trumpet, I think, oh God, you know. Which sometimes I think, oh, I know, I'm going to have a go at playing the trumpet shell sound on this, you know, and see how far I can go before it all cracks. And it makes me realize how incredible those trumpet players are who play these things for real, you know. Particularly, is it I can't remember the guy's name. Jean-Luc Madoff, I think his name is. He's the guy who plays the natural trumpet without the vent holes. So he does it all with his chops without adjusting it, you know, because on most natural trumpets there are holes that you use to adjust the tuning on the yard, which is one of the bits that unplugs. I think it's this bit. No, down here. Wow. So you put your fingers and you can adjust the tuning, you know. So it's kind of almost like you've got keys. Amazing. But he does it all with his chops, because that's what it was like back in the day. So I've been trying to do it like that in a kind of authentic way. So that's one for the side thing. But for me on the trumpet, at the moment, because of the whole lockdown thing, I feel like I'm sort of slightly kind of in hibernation. And so I generally have a routine where I either do I do a routine from the Maggio book, which is a trumpet kind of chops thing. I'll do that, or I'll do a routine from the Caruso book. And if I do that every day, I know that I'm kind of maintaining my sort of, you know, kind of chops, and it's all kind of it's going to be kind of, it's a bit less than it should be for it to be match fit, but I know that that's kind of happening. So I've been doing that, and then I'll from time to time, I mean, if I've got time around all the other teaching things I've got to do, I'll play along with some Aebersold backing tracks and play some jazz. But the other thing I've been doing, which has been really amazing, is I bought this Bill Adam book, and I had a hang on, you probably got it, yeah.
I've got the Maggio as well there.
Yeah, there you go.
This one,
the very same. that a
Yeah,
tribute to William Adam, his teaching his root, and
absolutely brilliant.
it's a great book. And
Yeah,
so I had a live stream, because it's one of these things that's really difficult at the moment. You have a live stream coming up out of nowhere, and you think, "Oh my God, I've got to try and get things together." So we had two. We had one with the Ronnie Scott's band at Ronnie's, and we had
yeah,
one with doing a Dizzy Gillespie band that Pete Long runs,
yeah,
and that was really, really helpful just for getting me back up to sort of a better level of match fitness, and then also playing transcriptions, all the usual things that we would do as jazz musicians, to learn the music. So some of it's technical stuff about learning patterns over chords, some of it's learning tunes, some of it's playing along with backing tracks or a metronome. Some of it is playing along with with other people's solo transcriptions or making your own transcriptions. So that mixture of different things is kind of what I do, hopefully reasonably regularly, just to keep things ticking over until such time as we're back out on the road playing more regularly.
Yeah, well, I couldn't recommend what you've just recommended anymore. This is another trumpet player. It was George Hogg, our friend George Hogg, that recommended this to me, Mark. But it's a brilliant, brilliant book.
Yep.
So I would heartily recommend it to anybody out there who's really interested in, lots of good routine stuff. But it's definitely got a good, lots of different bits and bobs in there. Now, one of the things that I'm really interested in and want to get over to our brass band audience really is how important, when you're in a big band, it's such a fantastic grounding for things like listening, articulation, breathing, all those things that are so important to us in the brass band. And I sometimes think that, maybe people think, oh, well, it's jazz, isn't it? It's just jazz. And they think that we're all quite relaxed and chilled about this kind of music. But actually, it's the complete opposite, isn't it? It has to be so 100% correct, doesn't it?
Absolutely right. So, playing in a section in a big band takes as much sort of technical discipline and understanding of what it means to work as a team as it does in any other ensemble, like in a brass band too. And I would say that the most important thing is rhythmic precision. And we need to think about in a trumpet section rhythmic precision both at the start and the end of the note. It's because jazz is all about groove. Having that internalized sense of pulse and being able to apply that through your instrument and apply that with the right kind of articulation is crucial to making it sound right. Yeah. And I think one of the things that it's worth thinking about is that it's different. It's not like it's more relaxed or whatever. There's as much discipline, but it's directed in a different way. So the kind of things that I often say to kind of characterize, what is different between, let's say, the brass band or the classical world and jazz is that one of the things we aim for in the classical and brass band world perhaps is a continuity of tone from note to note, right? That's one of the things that makes it work in that style. But if you listen to a jazz musician playing the trumpet, what they're often doing is looking for as much color as possible from note to note. Yeah. So those are two different kinds of tonal control, both equally important to understand and both equally important and difficult to be on top of. But that doesn't make one better or worse than the other. They're just different kinds of skills that are needed. And another thing is about articulation. We articulate much more heavily when we play jazz because we are trying to express the groove in a different way. If you're playing something, a hymn or Egmont or something like that, there's a particular kind of articulation that's required to make that to play that music in the style that it needs. And we can. But the thing is that those two things are different, but not mutually exclusive. If you've got the right kind of ears and the right kind of flexibility in an interest and curiosity about the music, you can change the way you play to suit the different musical circumstances. So you can, and it doesn't mean that you're not. That doesn't mean that suddenly it's not like careful. If you're making that face, if the wind changes, your face is going to stay that way. That's not the case. If you've got the interest and the desire, you can change the way you play to suit different musical circumstances. I think it is all about the idea of not letting. You want to develop good habits, but you want to make sure that you can re-examine them to see if they're suitable for the different music that you're playing, and develop enough different good habits for the different kinds of music you play, so you can slot in. And this isn't also, it's not jack of all trades, master of none. It's about flexibility. Yeah. I mean, all of these things will, for me, they revolve around my core interests as a musician, and they reinforce those as well. But it doesn't mean to say that I hope that was I booked to play in a symphony orchestra, I wouldn't be able to do a reasonably good job of playing that music in the style that it needs. You
Yeah.
know, and I would hope, I would hope that I'd be aware of what I need to change in my playing to suit those circumstances. And then when I'm playing a big band, I go back to doing that.
Yeah.
That's obviously my comfort zone. But
Yeah.
so yes, so it is about this. It's about as having those strengths, but they're different, strengths, and they're different focuses. But I think we can all learn how to use them.
Yeah, fabulous. So we're going to carry on talking about the big band, but we're going to carry on talking about your role with the National Youth Jazz Orchestra. Now, you won't know this, but the first time I met you was actually at a Nigel gig. I was in 1997, and I was in a band called the Andy Pryor Band up north, and Andy Wood was one of our trombone players, and I came to Dep at Dudley Town Hall for Nigel, and it was Andy Wood, Barney Dickinson, Pete North, and me. What a trombones! I mean, apart from me, the other three aren't bad players, And you were there, and I can remember turning up. And for anyone that knows anything about Nigel, I mean, just fantastic musicians, but this huge pad of music, much of which I seem to remember were arrangements that you'd done, Mark, as well. I can remember doing some of your arrangements, and just the sight reading, incredible. But yeah, what a fantastic institution it was then, and you've got continued to make it to something really special, and you're doing great things there at the moment. So tell us a little bit about your role at Nigel.
Okay, well, I'm the artistic director of the whole organisation, and
Okay.
Since those days, it's really grown. We've got so
Yeah.
much more in the way of educational outreach work that we do. We've expanded what we do around the country, which I think is important because we are a national organisation.
Yeah.
We have a mandate to work nationally, and we've got a great education team at Nigel that's been responsible for doing that. We also have just restarted doing live rehearsals. Literally yesterday, which is amazing, in a new venue in Woolwich, and we've expanded what we do on a Saturday. So we used to have Nijo the band and Nijo 2, the sort of training big band. So now we've got the jazz orchestra, and we've also got a new group called the Jazz Exchange, which is a kind of alternative
Yes.
performing group which doesn't
Yeah.
play big band music. And we've also got the Nijo Academy Big Band, which is kind of a replacement for Nijo 2. We've got 3 improvisation groups, which are all kind of at the moment under the banner of Nijo London, and we've got a vocal group. So we've quite dramatically expanded.
Yeah.
What we had before. It's turned into really quite a large operation, and it's
Yeah.
very exciting to see how we can try and balance all the different aspects of the past in terms of how big band music works in a more traditional setting, with looking towards the future as well, and embracing modern trends in the way the music is developing, and encouraging particularly young people to have their own voice and write their own music and have more creativity. And for us, it's all about building a community, and that's one of the important things about being in Woolwich. It's about building our own community internally, and also building a more external community with people in that area.
Yeah.
So my role is to oversee that, to set the policy, the artistic policy, both educationally and also in terms of the general kind of direction that we're taking with the performance music, and also to direct the jazz orchestra. I don't want to be the only person doing that. I mean, it's really is in as well, but that one of my roles is to rehearse the band, and to direct it on some of the concerts too.
Okay. I mean, I've been looking on the website this weekend, and it's just fantastic what Nigel's doing, and your new building looks really exciting. So yeah, that's really cool. Very excited for you for that. And I guess from my point of view, I grew up as a brass band player, and I went to the Royal Northern College of Music, and I joined another brass band in that area. And on the same night that we had band, it was Wingate's band, was jazz improvisation class at the Royal Northern. It was just an hour and a half, and I went to band practice instead of going to jazz improvisation. I didn't have to go to jazz improvisation. It was by choice, and that's where I'm really interested in our conversation today, is because I wish that had band been on another night, I would definitely have gone to jazz improvisation, and I would love to bring those two worlds together more. And so I'd be really keen for the brass band movement to link with all the different communities. So I know you've got 90 national partners around the country, and for Nigel to be able to link with our communities to do stuff together, really. And I think that word improvisation, Mark, is something that scares us as a movement. We're very happy to sit behind the stand, not hide, because there's some phenomenal players out there, but it's that sort of protection between us and the audience. And so what advice could you give us for those early steps where maybe we could take away the music stand and set about on a kind of pathway to some more improvisation?
Well, I think the thing is to bear in mind that it doesn't have to be complicated. It doesn't have to be sort of, if you like, theoretical rocket science.
Yeah.
The jazz, jazz, like any music, moves you because of the way it impacts you. And if we think about what it is in music, what is it in noise that turns it and organizes it into music? And we think about those different aspects, which for me are about rhythm, about pitch, about harmony, yes, but also about tone and about form. There are lots
Yeah.
of things there that are really quite fundamental and relatively simple things that we can embrace and internalize that help us to feel confident about improvisation. So what I'm talking about is feeling the groove, understanding that this music is something that was designed to be danced to, and expressing that in the way you articulate, and also using simple but effective clusters of notes. You don't, if you listen to Miles Davis improvise, often he only uses 4 or 5 notes. It's not about flying around and understanding lots of complicated scales and modes. That can be part of it. It doesn't have to be, and it's about taking steps. It's like peeling an onion, don't try and going to the center and thinking, right, okay, which mode do I need to use? Should I be playing the Lydian dominant? Oh my God, think about, can I feel the groove? Do I know where beat 1 is? Can I play on beat 1? And it's like a kind of Zen thing. If you just go bap, 2, 3, 4, bap, 2, 3, 4, 1, bap, 3, 4, 1. This kind of stuff, which makes you identify where to play, is just as important as understanding which notes to play. And often that's one of the most sort of scary things to do, because you're taking ownership of the music yourself. Everyone knows how to play scales, but often what we do is we play all the notes in the right order and hope that they come out fluently, Whereas
sure.
we can actually get that sense of knowing where all the notes can be played. So if you think about it like this, right, on a stave, there's kind of places to play, right? I've only got 4 fingers up at the moment. So it's 4. Let's say there's 4 lines and 4 spaces. I mean, I know there are 5 lines, but let's do 4 for now. It helps with the analogy, right? So we've got lines, line space, line space, line space, line space. Let's do that, right? And let's think of a 4/4 bar. Now we've got beat, offbeat, beat, offbeat, beat, offbeat, beat, offbeat. Now, I don't think it's a huge ask to say, can we be as precise about those beats and offbeats as we might be about playing a scale, and also feel confident about finding each one of those things? So I think the main kind of barrier to people feeling confident about improvisation is their confidence in understanding and internalizing time and groove, and understanding that the thing about jazz is it's closer to its functional origins as music to dance to.
Yeah.
But all instrumental music functionally has its origin more or less in music to dance to.
Absolutely.
It's just that because jazz came about at the start of the 20th century, it's closer to that, and also because it has a lot of African rhythm and African musical sensibility. Absolutely at the heart of it, African rhythm is more vibrant and syncopated than a lot of Western classical rhythm. So it's already kind of at that level. So having that understanding and knowing that we can all do it, we've all got the same brain and the same ears. We can embrace these things if we take that step. And it's just that way of feeling like I'm in control of the music. I'm not, the music's not controlling me. I'm controlling the music. And I firmly believe that if you have that sense of internalizing the pulse, internalizing pitches as well, when you play all the music you play, be it classical music, be it playing in a brass band, you'll feel so much more confident about playing that repertoire as well. I mean, just one other little analogy about this, which made me think about jazz musicians, even though it's about flute auditions. So there was a story about James Galway auditioning for the Berlin Phil. I think he was probably a bit of he auditioned and I think it might have been some kind of and there were various other people auditioned, and they were all called back. And then I think probably to prove a point, they said to all these guys, right, okay, can you just play as the opening of Apra Midi Jeune Fawn, big flute solo? And the other guys were like, oh, have you got the music? And James Galway went, and played it, right? And then they found another orchestral extract, and they said, can you play the big flute moment? And James Galway played it because he knew it, right?
Yeah.
The other guys didn't get the job,
Yeah,
because they didn't know it, And it's a real it's a really trite thing to say, but could you play Happy Birthday on your instrument? I mean, wouldn't you want to be able to do that without looking at the notation?
yeah.
It's that musicality is innate to us as human beings, and we just need to reconnect to it, I think, a bit more.
Yeah.
And you do that through jazz.
That's a great story. Fantastic. Love it. And I was you mentioned the Jazz Exchange program, and I was reading up about that. That looks fantastic. So, career pathways nowadays is an important topic for people like me and you who are involved in education. And, people are coming out of school. Do they want to go to university? Do they need to go to music college? Are there other ways of doing that? And when I read about the Jazz Exchange, I thought that was a really fascinating course. So is it a 2-year course? Is that right?
Yeah, well, at the moment, it because of the way the coronavirus has affected everything we're doing, everything is kind of slightly up in the air. But essentially, this is a sort of counterpart to the idea of, if you like, traditional big band playing, which, is, let's say, 80% about percentage on it. But the majority of playing in a big band is often about that kind of ensemble discipline that we talked about before, with some space to improvise. But there's not much time to address that, and writing for a big band is hard. You're writing for an orchestra, so there are maybe some barriers about getting involved in big bands, and we don't want there to be any of those kind of barriers for young musicians to get involved in NYJO. So as a result of this, we created this program where we've selected people who applied not through an audition. We selected people through videos and interviews and things, and we brought them together. It's a kind of an experiment, and they're writing music together. They've been given lots of mentor support, both musical and also industry support.
Right.
How to create your own career within the industry, and they're producing their own music, which is definitely not big band music. And so the idea with this is to sort of provide a counterbalance between what a big band can do and what this group can do. And then what we're all hoping, is that will merge, and that will show us what the next stage is going to be, which is what a jazz orchestra can do, which is beyond what a traditional big band is conceived of as being, but still maintains that as part of its DNA.
Okay.
So it's all about this kind of evolving the music. I mean, jazz is a music that it never stands still. There are always new trends and things that we need to be aware of. But at the same time, those trends are strongly underpinned by a tradition and a legacy. And so this is all about a kind of roots and shoots approach of the music, but then using that as a kind of firm foundation to take things forward and to innovate as well.
That's great. So if I'm a I don't know, grade 5, 12-year-old, 13-year-old kid that's listened to your interview today thinking, yeah, this jazz, I quite like the sound of NYJO. What do they do to try and get involved? They've got their grade 5 certificate. What's their next step for them to become involved with all the great stuff that you've been talking about today?
Well, the next step, I mean, depends on where you are. I mean, we run regular Saturday rehearsals. They're in Southeast London. They will be in Southeast London from now on in Woolwich. So if you're close enough to be able to make it, and some people come from quite a long way away to do these rehearsals, you're welcome to have a look on the website and have a look at the different things that we offer, and get in touch with us and express your interest. And we will organise some open days and taster days. That's what we've done traditionally in the past in our old premises. And you can get involved if you want to on a regular basis. If you're not that close to London, we also run regional academies. So currently we've got regional academies at places like Hull and in Darlington, down in Wiltshire. And, these things are expanding all the time, and we're hoping to have more of those going on as well. So, there are places where you can engage with some of our tutors and do NYJO activity outside London. So often, what we're trying to do with that is encourage people to get that balance between feeling like they can play in an ensemble and also feel confident about improvisation. So those groups are things that we're forming all the time, and there are opportunities for people to get involved beyond just having. So there's a program of activity nationally as well as based in our current home base, which is in London, which means that hopefully there'll be something you can get to if you want to get involved.
Well, I would love for us to kind of connect with Nigel as a movement more, and so I'll work as hard as I can with you to maybe try and get a project off the ground. I know we've talked about doing something in the autumn, at the new Amersham Band Room, which I'm looking forward to showing you around quite soon.
Oh yes.
And it would be great to get further afield and do some projects where we can really kind of engage with brass band movement, communities, really, is that word again. You've already told me that you've got arrangements ready to go with euphonium parts and E-flat horn parts. And
absolutely. So, yeah, we got some stuff that if anyone's interested, they can visit our Nijo Virtual Academy site, and they can download backing tracks and arrangements they can play along with. So go and have a look.
That's a tremendous resource, and I heartily recommend you get involved with that. That'd be brilliant. Well, Mark, we've kind of come up to the end of our time, sadly. I've got one other thing to say. The last time you came and played with Amersham Band, your dad wrote a tune or a piece of music. Do you remember?
Yes, called...
He wrote a melody.
Yes, Somewhere Beyond the Sunrise. I think he wrote a melody. And basically what my dad does is he plays stuff on the piano, and then occasionally he says, "Oh, do you think could you do something with this?" So it was great fun to arrange that for the band. And I think we played it in the last concert.
We did, but here's the thing: I don't think it's ever been played since, and it was a really great piece. We should get that out. So if there's any good flugel horn players out there, which there will be, who are looking for some new repertoire, Mark's arrangement of his dad's melody was fantastic, and I heartily recommend getting in touch with me, and I can put you in touch with Mark, and
absolutely,
I'm sure we can make something work.
Definitely, for sure. We'll make sure that's available.
It's been great to talk to you, Mark, and look forward to catching up with you. And I'm hoping that we can introduce you live to many more brass band communities with Nigel in the next few months and years.
Me too. That'd be really fantastic. Thanks so much, Paul. It's been great to speak to you.
All the best, Mark. Take care. Bye. Bye, everybody.
Bye.